All right, we'll get started now. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Irfanullah, and I have been helping candidates prepare for the Level 1 exam since 2008. So I've been doing this for several years. In 2011, I started creating videos for the Level 1 exam and posted them on YouTube. Those videos became extremely popular, and then after that I went on to enhance the Level 1 videos and also then created videos for Level 2 and Level 3. In early 2014, my team and I started writing notes for Level 1. So now we also have notes. We are also creating question banks. So in essence, we are trying to create a complete package. Started out with videos, but now we have a whole lot more. And to our package, we are now adding these online classes because very often candidates all over the world who are trying to prepare for the Level 1 exam get the study material, but often do not have cost-effective guidance, in the sense that it's okay to buy material, but what if you have questions, or what if you need somebody to help you stay on schedule? So in response to that need, we have launched these online classes with the intent of helping candidates stay on track during the studies and to answer questions during the study process. So in any case, that's a high-level introduction. If you have any other questions about me or what my team and I do, you can let me know, and at the end of this presentation I will answer those questions. Okay, now let's start getting into the material. The intent of this presentation is to just talk about the Level 1 exam. I am not talking about the CFA program, because at this stage, at least the assumption behind this presentation is that you know what you're doing, you have thought about the whole program, and you are planning to take the exam. And since you are planning to take the exam, you now want to just get a sense for how to study, what to focus on, and so on. If you need advice on the CFA program, what it's all about, and what are the pros and cons, that's a separate discussion. You can let me know if you're interested in that, and we can talk about that separately. But right now we are focusing on the Level 1 exam. Okay, so your exam will be in June, early June, so 5th or 6th June, the first Saturday in June, and you will be tested on these 10 topics. And I'll comment a little bit. Ethics basically gives you a grounding in the ethical values and the standards that you as an investment management professional need to have. And this is one of the most important topics at Level 1. In fact, this is a topic that continues in later levels. So this is extremely important. While I mentioned it at the beginning, there was a question about what order to study in. With ethics, I'd say that you study it to some extent in the beginning, but also study it at the end. So it is something that needs to stay with you. Then another very important topic is quantitative methods. This is 12% of the exam. This has to be studied very early in the course, because a lot of what you will see later will depend on quantitative methods. In quantitative methods, we basically have 3 parts. So one part is time value of money and applications of time value of money. I know there are some people here who are repeating the exam, so my apologies. Obviously, you know this material already. The second part of quantitative methods is statistics. So we start with basic statistics and then get into sampling and estimation and hypothesis testing. And then the third part, which is actually just one reading, is technical analysis. So it's a big reading, but technical analysis is the third category of quantitative methods. I'd say that while obviously everything is important, but time value of money is extremely important, because if you don't understand these concepts, then you'll have a lot of trouble later on, and you cannot pass the Level 1 exam without properly understanding time value of money. Then we have economics. This is basically college level microeconomics and macroeconomics. It is a huge amount of material, but only 10% of the exam. Just to put this in perspective, Ethics is about 150 pages in the curriculum and represents 15%. Economics is almost 500 pages in the curriculum and is 10%. So it's a lot of material, but relative to the amount of material, the weightage of economics is not as much. Economics you can almost study at any point. So quantitative methods is a prerequisite for many other topics and needs to be done early. Economics can be done early or late. It doesn't matter that much. I will talk about our schedule, which basically follows the sequence in the curriculum, so I'll come to that later. FRA is huge. In terms of weightage, it's 20% of the exam, so it is the heavyweight. It's the largest part of the level 1 exam. It is very difficult to pass the exam without doing well on FRA. In fact, I have mentioned the big three. Here the big three are ethics, quantitative methods, and FRA. If you do well on these three, there is a good chance that you will pass. Now, FRA is so important because you are preparing to become a financial analyst, and as a financial analyst, one of the most important things you look at is financial reports. So here you will learn how to study and analyze financial reports. Then we get into corporate finance. Here we deal with topics like capital budgeting, cost of capital, corporate governance, and so on. 7% of the exam. Then equity investments. So this deals with equity markets in general and then also gets into the specifics of how do you analyze equity investments. Then fixed income, where we talk about how you analyze and value fixed income instruments. Derivatives is only 5%. At level 1, derivatives is fairly easy. We don't get into too much detail. We need to understand the basics of different derivative instruments and the basics of pricing and valuation. Alternative investments is 4% of the exam. It's one reading, but I'd say it's an important reading because that one reading represents 4%. And then we have portfolio management, which is 7%. So this is what we will be doing. Yeah, Zen. So FRA, and thank you, Ryan. FRA is financial reporting and analysis. Again, here basically what you're doing is learning how to study financial statements. All right, now the exam format. So there will be 2 3-hour sessions. In most parts of the world, the morning session is from 9 to 12, and then the afternoon session is from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Each session will have 120 multiple choice questions. So you have 120 questions in 3 hours or 180 minutes. So on average, you have 90 seconds per question. Now, some questions will take longer than that, but there'll be many questions that are just real quick. You just need to regurgitate some information. So those will take less than 90 seconds. The exam is organized by topic, and what you see here is roughly how the exam is organized. So let's take the morning exam. Morning exam has 120 questions. Ethics will represent the first 18 questions, and this is 18 because we have 15%. So ethics is 15%. 15% of 120 is 18. So you'll have 18 ethics questions, then 14 quant questions, 12 economics questions, and so on. You can attempt the questions in any order. This is basically what order you attempt the questions in depends on your exam strategy, which we'll talk about closer to the exam, but basically there are 2 broad strategies that people follow. One strategy is to just go in order. The other strategy is to attempt the topics that you are good at first and then move on to other topics. So I'll not get into more detail on that now because you still have a while for the exam. The key at this stage is to master these topics. Okay, now in terms of preparation, one of the most important things you should be doing at this stage, if you've not already done so, is you need to make a schedule. So here is a template that you can get from us. You can write to our support ID and we'll send you a spreadsheet with all the level 1 readings, and it also includes the duration of our videos for those readings. These, for those who buy our videos, the benefit is obvious. For those who do not, you can at least see how long every reading is, roughly. What you need to do is organize yourself in terms of saying that, okay, I'll finish quantitative methods by so-and-so date, I'll finish economics by so-and-so date, and then within each topic, you need to say you will finish time value of money by a certain date, and you will finish the curriculum questions by a certain date. So I'll talk about the curriculum questions in more detail shortly, but when I say that you are done with the reading, that means that you are done with understanding the concepts and you are done also with the practice. So you need to make a schedule and then you need to stick to that schedule. Here is the schedule that we will follow for this online course. So the online course, the first class is on 9th January. Actually, the first class, as in questions need to be submitted by 9th January. The actual class is on 11th January. And I'll explain briefly how this works. You can have your own schedule, but the idea will be that on 11th January, I will cover any questions or all the questions that you send related to study session 2. So quantitative methods has 2 study sessions, study session 2 and study session 3. So study session 2 has to do with time value of money, the applications of time value of money, and basic statistics. So you need to study, and you can study any way you want. We'll talk about this in the next few slides, that different study styles work for different people. But let's say that you are using our material, you listen to our videos, and then you follow our advice in terms of doing our practice questions and the curriculum questions and curriculum examples. Whatever you don't understand, you will submit your questions by 9th Jan, and then during the 11th Jan class, I will actually go over all the questions that have been submitted. The advantage there is not only will you get your questions answered, but you will also see what questions other people are asking, and very often people learn a lot from that. All right, Amir has a question. As a premium student, how can I send you my questions through LinkedIn? Okay, Amir, so we will, you can either send it through LinkedIn or we'll give you a form. So we'll, respond to that separately. Asad is part of my team, so he'll get back to you. All right, so this is our schedule and it will help you stay on track. Your studies actually need to be ahead of this. So you can think of this as a safety net, in the sense that if you are working with us, then you have your schedule which should at least be a week or 2 ahead of this. If you are ahead of the schedule, then you will be able to send us questions and we'll be able to then answer those questions. All right. Another important aspect is that you need to understand your studying style, or you need to figure out what works for you. On this slide, I'm going to talk about, in general, what is necessary when you study, and then what are things that are good to do. All right, so on the left is the process that you need to follow. Take any reading, let's say reading 5, which is time value of money. Step 1 is to study and understand the concepts. So now here, you don't need to get into the details of every single point, but you need to at least understand the basic ideas. So if we talk about time value of money, you need to understand what we mean by interest rates, you need to understand what we mean by present value, future value, you need to understand what's an annuity due. So you need to get the concepts. So that is essential. Now, how do you get the concepts? How do you study? That will vary from person to person. The most rigorous, time-consuming, and theoretically the best thing to do is read the curriculum. But I have seen so many students over the years who start reading the curriculum and get so lost in it that they just cannot stay on schedule. However, there are others who do manage to read the curriculum and stay on schedule. So now you need to figure yourself out. So when you make your schedule and you say that, all right, by 23rd December, I'm going to finish Time Value of Money, and you can read the curriculum, understand it by that date and do the questions, then you are okay. But at least in my experience, 90% people can't do that. So that's why many people rely on notes and videos as a supplement to the curriculum. You need to, if you feel that you cannot study the curriculum and stay on schedule, then you find notes that work for you. You can, I'd be happy if you use our notes, but the choice is obviously yours. And also with videos, you can decide which videos help you, whether you are the sort that benefits from videos. I'd encourage you to try our videos. If you find them useful, then then buy them. Otherwise, you can figure out whatever works for you. But the key is that you need to understand the concepts behind a particular reading, and you need to do it in a particular, within a particular schedule. If you spend 3 weeks on Time Value of Money to understand the concepts, you are not going to pass the exam. All right. Now, no matter where you study from, be it the curriculum or some study notes or videos, I would still encourage you to have the curriculum open and do the examples in the curriculum. And if you are using our material, we make frequent references to the curriculum examples, and we also use examples that are a lot like the curriculum examples. So doing these examples helps you understand specific learning outcomes in a given reading, because each of these examples actually target one or more learning outcomes in a reading. Once you are done with the reading, or once you've understood the concepts and you've done some basic examples or done the examples, then do the practice problems at the end of the reading. Now, a word of caution here, some readings, such as reading 5, have a few practice problems that are extremely difficult, and what we try to do is, in some of our material, we help simplify these. But if you find something that's too difficult, let us know, and we can let you know whether the exam really has questions that are that difficult or not. But by and large, at the end of a reading, you should try and do the practice problems from the reading. Then next step is, once you are done with a topic, so let's say you are done with quantitative methods, then you should do at least one quiz for that topic. More quizzes is obviously better. The more you do, the better you get. So notice that we are talking about understanding concepts and then practicing at many levels. So this is practicing at the learning outcome level, then this is practicing at the reading level, then this is practicing at the overall topic level. And all these levels of practice help reinforce important concepts. My suggestion is, or what I want you to do is, finish the course approximately 5 weeks. Target finishing about 5 weeks before the exam. So let's say end of April you finish your course, and that gives you the rest of, that gives you all of May and a few days in June. So that's approximately 5 weeks. In those 5 weeks you do a lot of review and you do lots of full-length mock exams. So this in a sense is the grand finale. You've been practicing at a learning outcome level, at a reading level, at a topic level. Through mock exams, you then practice all the topics. So the CFA Institute releases mock exams, you can do those. There are prep providers that release mock exams, you can do those. But the idea is that before you take your actual exam, you should do these mock exams. Alright, there's a question as to whether we provide mock exams. Up till now, we've not. We've been saying just do the curriculum, but we do have something in the works, and while it's not a commitment, but for this batch, we will try and produce mock exams. For earlier batches, we've had lots of topical quizzes. Alright, so there's another question. So for review, what would we recommend? Okay, that's a good question. Actually, in my opinion, the best review is from your own notes. So I would strongly recommend that during this time, you make your own notes and make your own formula sheets and then use that to review. We do during this time offer crash courses, and we've actually released a lot of videos on YouTube which give you summaries of all the readings. So I believe those are quite good. We've got lots of positive feedback. So don't worry too much about this review right now. Worry about the main concepts and doing lots of practice. All right, now if you are using our material, here are some suggestions. Our major product is the video lectures. So if you do listen to the video lectures, have the curriculum open at the same time. If you don't have the curriculum, at least have a printed version of the slides. And since we follow the curriculum, what you can do is understand the concept, and then we say, okay, work on example 3. Then you work through example 3, and that helps reinforce what you've just studied. We have also released our notes. So if you do have our notes, then I would encourage you to read those notes too. Exactly how much detail you get into and how much time you spend depends on you. The idea is that you need to know enough to be able to do the examples and to be able to do the questions towards the end. The question is, do we have IFT notes in book form? The IFT notes are in PDF form, so those are available. You can download them and print them. The good thing about PDF is that it's very portable. You can read it on any device, and it has bookmarks. So anyway, it's quite easy to use. We found that candidates like working with PDF. All right, so as I said before, take your own notes, create your own facts and formula sheets. While you will find vendors making these notes, making these formula sheets available, and we do that too, but I keep saying that I would much rather that you make your own sheets, because it's much easier to relate to and work from your own formula sheets. All right. Curriculum practice problems, I keep saying this, and I will emphasize here also that after every reading, make sure you do the curriculum practice problems. They are very good practice. Anything that you don't understand, you should document, write down, and then during the live sessions that we'll have, you can ask your questions. So somebody asked about how this would be done. Just very briefly, we will set up a form, and you will be able to submit that through the form, and all the questions will then come to my team and to me, and we'll then prepare lectures based on your questions. All right, how and what to practice? You might have noticed that this is a recurring theme. You know, I'm big on getting the core concept, but then spending a lot of time on practice. So one of the best sources of practice is the practice problems at the end of every reading, especially the questions that are in MCQ format. So they are already in exam format. I suggest to my students that you do this at least 3 times before the exam. So what does that mean? You do your practice problems initially, in the sense that let's say you are doing reading 5 now. So when you do reading 5, you do the practice problems of reading 5. That's the first attempt. Then during the course, as you are moving on to other topics, you need to once in a while go back and refer to your notes and maybe do the questions again that you got wrong the first time. So that would be your second attempt. And then in your final month of review, you should go back and do the practice questions again. So that is 3 times. And the reason I say this is, I have seen many students who get something wrong the first time and then make the same mistake the second time. A few also make the same mistake the third time, but hardly anyone makes the same mistake 4 times. So this way, by doing this at least 3 times, you know that if something like this shows up on the exam, you will get it right. Okay, so there's a question from ABCD. I'm sure that's not your real name. How to retain earlier learned concepts when going to learn so many concepts during the studies? Okay, that's a great question. That question keeps showing up, and I have, 2 things to say to that. One is, as you are studying, so let's say you do quant first, and then you do econ, and then you do FRA. So as you progress through your studies, take notes and go back and once a week just refer to your older notes, and maybe also refer to the questions that you have done, and that will help you remember material. Also, towards the end, once you start doing a lot of practice and you review your old material, you will notice that many of these topics are interrelated. So time value of money concepts that you study here will resurface in portfolio management. You will see them in corporate finance. You will see them to some extent in derivatives. You will see them in fixed income. You will see them in equity. So if you study well and you do a lot of practice, the interrelationships between the different topics will just help you remember the material. But the key is a lot of practice. Also, when you practice a lot, you make mistakes, and very often people remember based on their mistakes. So if you practice a lot, you make a lot of mistakes. If you make a lot of mistakes, then you tend to remember the things that you get wrong, generally speaking. All right, and if you practice multiple times, then that is even better. All right, so that's the practice problems. Topical quizzes I've talked about. After every topic you do quizzes. We offer multiple quizzes per topic, especially towards the end. That helps with your revision. Quizzes from other sources. So I actually just brushed over this on the previous slide. I'll go back again for a moment. So here where I was talking about the different material, I also said practice, as in I didn't talk about this, but I had it written, practice questions from other sources. What I should have said here was that, this material, things from the curriculum, so even topical quizzes, the CFA Institute makes some of these available. These you must do. And if you still have time, then you can do practice questions from other sources. So IFT, that's us, we have some practice questions. If you sign up with us, we give you questions. Other prep providers also give you practice questions. So if whatever questions you get your hands on, try to solve them. The more you do, the better. But do the curriculum ones first because they are the best. The CFA Institute makes the exam, and obviously if they are making the exam, then they are also making questions that, at least in theory, are most indicative of what will show up on the exam. So treat those well, take them seriously, and then if you have time, then you do practice questions from other sources. All right. So I've talked about quizzes from other sources, also lots of mock exams in the final month. The CFA Institute releases some mock exams. There are prep providers who release mock exams. So depending on how much time you have, the more you can do, the better. In fact, one strategy that I recommend to people is, in the last month, try to do a mock exam, at least one full-length mock exam every week. And in the final week, try to do 2 or 3. If you've done a lot of mock exams before your actual exam, then, the exam will be much easier for you. Those who do a lot of practice typically go to their exam and come back saying that the exam was easier than they expected.